Hi everyone, quick check before we start. No cream on my nose, fresh black top despite the fact it looks like last night's, and no label sticking out. So I think I'm good to go. Those of you that tuned in last night and perhaps last week when I had an orange top that I had been painting with and turned it inside out and had the label sticking out, you'll understand why. This evening I have decided to do a little baking. We seem to have run out of baking in our house and I thought this was an ideal chance to do some more. We've also got some leftover chorizo sausage stew from last night, so there's no need for me to make any more food for this evening. So in my bowl over here I have already creamed 2 lots of sugar, 100 grams of brown sugar, 125 grams of caster sugar and 125 grams of butter. These measurements I'll put back up on the group chat afterwards in case I've got it wrong. So I've already creamed that. I have 1 egg here, beaten up with a little vanilla essence, and I have in here 225 grams of self-raising flour, which I have already sieved, and my Smarties. So what I'm going to do now, there will be a bit of noise. I'm going to quickly add in my egg. Now, as you all know, when it comes to mixing in an egg, a little at a time. So excuse the noise. Ideally, guys, you want to add in a little at a time, stopping the whisk as you do each bit. And last little bit of egg. I see if experienced bakers would probably discontinue doing it, but it's better to do it. Stop and start. And there we have it. Switch off, and that's our baking done. So what we're going to do now is we're going to fold in the flour. Now, as I said, I've already sieved, this is self-raising flour, and I have already sieved it because the recipe tells me to do so. Again, every chef is different. I'm not a chef, so I tend to follow the recipe, and they're asking you to fold this in, which means stirring and cutting, stirring and cutting. So I'm just going to do that. And the reason we do it this way is to incorporate the air, which makes our baking rise and is nice and fluffy. Now, these are Millies cookies, which depends how long you cook them for. Some recipes tell you 7 minutes to get them nice and gooey in the centre, but if you want them to be harder and crispier, then you would put them in longer. We in our house will have them longer because I like them crispy. And then I'm going to mix in my Smarties. Now, the recipe normally says for Millies Cookies, chopped chips, but one of my trainees that came to my class a while ago, Hannah, who sadly is no longer with us because she's moved on to pastures new, she'd actually done this recipe with Smarties and told me that it was fantastic. So I had some Smarties in the house and I thought, right, I'm going to start. So as you can see now, quite a thick mixture, which is exactly what we're looking for. And now all we're going to do is put it on the tray. And I'll do a little for you, and then I'll carry on later. And once they're finished, I will obviously take a photograph for you. So all we're going to do is take a small amount. Don't need to put them in our hands. We're not going to worry too much about the shape and size. It really is not a problem to have them just rough and ready. Now these will, when they're in the oven, merge into one another. So ideally, if we can, keep them as far apart as we can without obviously running out of space on the tray. Okay, so just little blobs. Don't want too big a biscuit, just enough to have with a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. Okay, and there you have it. So I will continue this, and then I'll put them in the oven for about between 7 and 10 minutes, depending on whether you like them gooey, whether you like them hard. I like mine kind of crispy and harder, so mine will be in for a bit longer. And then once they're out, I will take a photograph and let you see. One thing is, when you do, if you try this, when you do take them out of the oven and they have all merged together, what you would need to do is take a knife and just go down each seam, if you like, that has joined together, because once it cools, it'll be easier to take the biscuit and have it whole rather than it breaking and cracking, and then you're going to have bits of biscuit. So that's just a little tip that I'd certainly do in my cooking and baking. And there we have it, Millies Cookies. Hope you've enjoyed that, guys. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye for now.